Hello students, let's begin with a new session with a new concept called token in C++. Before starting this concept, we should learn about or we should know what is C++ programming. On the previous videos, we learned about different object-oriented paradigms like different object-oriented features of C++. Before starting a programming, we must focus about the smallest individual units of the program, that is called token. So a token is a group of characters that logically belong together. It is the smallest individual element or unit in a program. So अगर हम लोग कोई भी प्रोग्रामिंग स्टार्ट करते हैं तो उससे पहले उसका बेसिक्स जानना जरूरी है. जैसे कि सी में हम लोग टोकन्स के बारे में पढ़े थे. बिफोर स्टार्टिंग एनी प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज उसमें बेसिकली क्या क्या एलिमेंट्स होता है या क्या क्या पर्टिकुलर स्टेटमेंट्स का इम्प्लीमेंट होता है, ये सब जानना जरूरी है. बिफोर स्टार्टिंग ए सिंपल इंग्लिश कम्युनिकेशन इट मस्ट हैविंग सर्टेन ग्रामर और वोकैबुलरी. जैसे कि कोई भी एक स्टेटमेंट या सेंटेंस हम लोग कोई भी स्टैंडर्ड लैंग्वेज में हम लोग डिफाइन करते हैं या जैसे कि लिखते हैं, राइटिंग करते हैं या बोलते हैं, तो उसमें हम लोग को ग्रामर या वोकैबुलरीज की जरूरत पड़ती है. Similarly, a programming language also consisting of different smallest elements or individual smallest elements. So let's begin with this concept that is called tokens. So basically token is nothing, it is act as a building blocks of a program. जैसे कि कोई भी एक सेंटेंस जब हम लोग इंग्लिश या कोई भी अदर लैंग्वेज में जैसे कि जनरल लैंग्वेज या यूजर डिफाइंड लैंग्वेज में हम लोग लिखते हैं, तो उसमें क्या होता है जैसे कि नाउन्स, वर्ब्स, एडजेक्टिव्स, ये सब चीज होता है. लाइक दैट योर प्रोग्रामिंग आल्सो कंटेन different smallest elements or elements of the subsequent program. So that's why token act as a building blocks of a program. So any statement which is defined inside a programming language like C, C++ or Java, any type of programming language, it must consisting a group of characters or group of words, and every individual word or character implementation in that particular statement is related with a token. So just like a living cell in the smallest possible unit of life, tokens in C++ are referred to as the smallest individual unit in a program. So a token is the smallest element of a program that is meaningful to the compiler. मतलब टोकन आपका एक स्मॉल यूनिट होता है जो कि आइडेंटिफाई करता है और आइडेंटिफाइड बाय द प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज. मतलब ज्यादातर हम लोग जो टोकन को डिफाइन करते हैं वो आइडेंटिफाई होता है बाय द help of the compiler or by the compiler itself. So that's why a token is the smallest element of a program that is meaningful to the compiler. तो ज्यादातर हम लोग जो स्टेटमेंट या एक्सप्रेशन जो भी प्रोग्रामिंग में लिखते हैं वो आपका कंपाइलर के लिए ही बेसिकली होता है, बिकॉज कंपाइलर कैन इजीली understand and easily like translate the subsequent elements which is defined inside a programming statement. So token is the smallest unit in a C program, like C++ also having the similar nature or similar concept. It is each and every word and punctuation that we come across in our C programming. Like in this case, C and as well as C++, both the subsequent programming like Java or any other advanced programming language must having this type of concepts, like that is called the smallest unit of a particularly program. And the compiler normally breaks the program into smallest possible units, that is called tokens, and proceeds to the various stages of the compilation. For example, we just normally define a statement like a variable declaration. So for that, it must require the data type, that is int, like char or float, ये सब हम लोग कमिंग पर्टिकुलर सेक्शन में या कमिंग वीडियो में देखेंगे। सो आपका अगर डिफाइन हो रहा है इंट देन फॉलोड बाय नम इक्वल टू 10 देन फॉलोड बाय सेमीकोलन। दिस इज द सिंपल स्टेटमेंट व्हिच इज डिफाइंड फॉर डिक्लेयरिंग एंड इनिशियलाइजेशन ऑफ ए पर्टिकुलर वेरिएबल। तो इसमें जो आपका इंट है वो डेटा टाइप है, वो आपका एक टोकन है। लाइक आपका जो नम है वो आपका एक आइडेंटिफायर या वेरिएबल नेम है, वो भी आपका एक पर्टिकुलर टोकन है। देन आफ्टर दैट इक्वल साइन इज नॉर्मली कॉल्ड द subsequence token and followed by 10 20 30 which is normally assigned to the subsequence variable num, that is basically called constant or you can say the value. And the last particularly like you can say the token is called the semicolon, that is called the sentence terminator. So that's a token, basically the statement which is defined a collection of tokens, so that particular thing can be break a program into a smallest possible units and proceed to the various stage of the subsequent compilation. So in C or C++ or any other programming language, the token can be further like divided into or different type of particularly types of tokens there which can be divided in subsequent programming language. These are keywords, operators, strings, constants, special characters, identifiers and so on so forth. So basically हम लोग जो भी प्रोग्राम करते हैं या प्रोग्रामिंग में जो भी स्टेटमेंट्स वगैरह डिफाइन करते हैं, उसमें आपका हर एक पर्टिकुलर सेंटेंस में या स्टेटमेंट में आपका ये टोकन का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन वाइडली होता है। So let's start with the first concept, that is basically this is the simple diagram like token and the like keyword, string, operator, constant, identifier and special character. These are the specific like the types or different types of tokens which is available in a programming language or which is normally which are widely implemented with programming language. And let's begin with the very first particular token, that is called keywords. So keyword are normally called the predefined or reserved word in a programming language. So these are basically called the predefined or you can say the reserved words. Reserved means it cannot be used for other purposes. So it is widely implemented for programming. That's why it is called reserved keywords or reserved words for a programming language. Each word is a meant to perform a specific function in a subsequent program. So as you know that there are certain preprocessor particular like you can say the header files are there. Almost all the keywords are normally written previously inside that subsequent particular like header file. So every individual keyword is normally widely implemented for a specific meaning or specific function in a subsequent program. Since keywords are referred name for a compiler, they cannot be used as a variable name because by doing so, we are trying to assign a new meaning to the keyword which is not allowed. It means basically the keyword as for the reserved words, it may not use for the other purposes. Like when you define a variable inside a program or a particular programming language or program, it may not actually use as a variable. So that's why keyword are basically called a specific word or you can say reserved word for actually for a specific purpose or specific, normally you can say specific like use or specific functioning part or specific function in a subsequent program. So in C, there are 32 keywords there and another 31 added to C++. So overall it is 61 additional keywords. So out of number of particularly keywords are widely implemented in C and as well as C++ programming. So these are the some example or some particularly options of your keywords which is used in C++ also. So there are certain keywords which is available in the list that is widely implemented in C and as well as C++. So it is a combined form of C, C++ और C++ में जो भी आपका कीवर्ड यूज होता था वो लगभग आपका C++ में यूज हो रहा है और C++ having the additional keyword which is normally like make the boost of the subsequence program for the advanced programming like that is object oriented programming concepts. So the next particularly thing is or the token is called identifier. Identifier are used as a general terminology for the meaning of variable, functions and array. So C में हम लोग क्या कर रहे थे, जैसे कि एक प्रोग्रामिंग में हम लोग फंक्शन डिफाइन कर रहे थे, लाइक वेरिएबल डिफाइन कर रहे थे, लाइक स्ट्रक्चर डिफाइन कर रहे थे, यूनियन डिफाइन कर रहे थे. दीज आर कॉल्ड यू कैन से लाइक द स्ट्रक्चर, यूनियन, एरे, दीज आर द यूजर डिफाइंड डेटा टाइप्स. तो उसमें हम लोग कोई भी पर्टिकुलरली एरे को जब डिफाइन कर रहे थे या कोई भी पर्टिकुलरली वैल्यू को जब हम लोग फिजिकली स्टोर करना चाहते हैं या वैल्यू वैल्यू को जब हम लोग एक वेरिएबल में स्टोर करना चाहते हैं, तो वेरिएबल आपका एक आइडेंटिफायर होता है। आइडेंटिफायर का बेसिक थिंग क्या होता है? ये एक आइडेंटिफिकेशन होता है। दैट्स व्हाई आइडेंटिफायर आर यूज्ड एज अ जनरल टर्मिनोलॉजी और यू कैन से इट इज अ जनरल पर्पस इम्प्लीमेंटेशन फॉर नेमिंग अ वेरिएबल एज वेल एज फंक्शन एंड एज वेल एज एरे। इन दिस केस सी में हम लोग क्या कर रहे थे, एक फंक्शन को हम लोग जो डिफाइन कर रहे थे, तो फंक्शन में सबसे पहले एक रिटर्न टाइप होता था, लाइक दैट इज void एंड फॉलोड बाय नेम ऑफ द फंक्शन। जैसे नेम फंक्शन में हम लोग एक्सेप्ट यूज कर रहे थे, इनपुट यूज कर रहे थे, आउटपुट यूज कर रहे थे, या जैसे कि सम यूज कर रहे थे या मल्टीप्लिकेशन यूज कर रहे थे। तो दीज पर्टिकुलर थिंग्स, जैसे कि वेरिएबल में भी हम लोग नम या नेम या आपका सैलरी, ये सब चीज हम लोग यूज करते थे। वो सब चीज आपका या ये सब आपका नॉर्मली एक आइडेंटिफायर की तरह इंप्लीमेंट होता है। So these are user defined names consisting of an arbitrarily long sequence of like letters, digits with their a particular letter or a underscore as a first character. So there are specific right rules for naming a subsequence identifier. तो आपका जो वेरिएबल होता है या फंक्शन होता है या जो एरे होता है, जो आइडेंटिफायर हम लोग जिसको बोलते हैं, उसमें आपका क्या होता है, जैसे कि आपका नॉर्मली लाइक अल्फाबेट हो सकता है, नंबर हो सकता है, या आपका जैसे कि लाइक यहाँ पे डिजिट हो जाता है या कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ टू थिंग्स होता है। तो ये आपका सबसे पहला जो पर्टिकुलरली आइडेंटिफायर का जो रूल होता है, वो आपका वेरिएबल हो गया या फंक्शन हो गया। तो योर फंक्शन, वेरिएबल और एरे must begin with an underscore character or a particular alphabet. So identifier names must differ in spelling and case from any keyword. So it is not actually, as I say earlier, keyword आपका एक reserved thing होता है, so that's why it is called a reserved thing or reserved particularly like specific function or specific item, yeah, element. That particular thing may not be used in or that may not reflect in your identifier, or that is called the name of the variable or function or array name. So we cannot use the keyword as identifier. This is strictly rules and regulation. We may not use some like number of keywords for actually implementing as an identifier. So we may not define as int then space int, because first int is called the keyword, second is also keyword, but the second int is normally we are normally treated as a variable name. So it may not actually possible in any programming language, like it may be in C, C++ or any other programming language. So that's why this particularly keywords or the keywords are not not used as an identifier, like they are reserved for a specific use. The next particular thing, like these are the rules and rules that should be followed while naming a particularly identifier. ये हम लोग C में पढ़े थे, जैसे कि we just follow the like some of the particularly rules of the like the variable or you can say the identifier rules. So they must begin with a letter or underscore. So as I say in the previous part, like it must begin with an underscore character, or otherwise it must start with an alphabet, that is called letter. So they must consisting of only letters, digit or underscore. No other special characters are allowed, like plus symbol, multiplication symbol. These are normally for a specific use because these are basically certain type of operators. So you may not use that subsequence like special characters, like hyphen is there, that is for minus, like slash is there, that is for division, and multiplication, that is called asterisk symbol is there, that may not used in like naming a particularly identifier. So that's why your particularly identifier must consisting of letters, digit, and as well as particularly underscore. And it should not be a keyword, as I say earlier, and it must not contain white space. There is no space, and as well as a period, that is called dot. Dot and as well as white space may not allowed while defining a particularly identifier in a subsequent programming. So it should be up to 32, 31 character long, as only the first 31 character are significant. So the length of the subsequence identifier maximum जो कि आपका नॉर्मल होता है 31 कैरेक्टर लॉन्ग हम लोग डिफाइन करते थे, उसके बाद जो आप अगर आप डिफाइन किए हो तो उसको वो कंसिडर नहीं करेगा. So that's why it is basically called 31 characters are significant for naming a variable. So these are the basically the naming rules, or you can say rules that are followed by while naming a particularly identifier. So it must be the sum of the rules which is normally defined here. And the next is called the constant. So constant is nothing, it is normally called the fixed. So those values not change time to time. Like you can say the variable varies. So the value which is normally changed time to time, but constant refer to a fixed value that the program may not alter and they are called laterals. So basically constant आपका जो होता है वो आपका फिक्स्ड वैल्यू होता है, वो आपका प्रोग्रामिंग में एक बार डिफाइन होने के बाद वो बार बार आपका चेंज नहीं होता है, या जैसे कि आपका जो प्रोग्रामिंग का जो एग्जीक्यूशन होता है ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम इट may not change, it may not actually change. That's why it is called the fixed value for the subsequence particularly variable. So that's why constant can be of any of the basic data type and can be divided into integer numerals like floating point numerals, characters, string and boolean values. So as you know that C में हम लोग क्या कर रहे थे इंटीजर, तो इंटीजर जो होता है वो आपका होल नंबर होता है, फ्लोटिंग पॉइंट जो होता है वो आपका फ्रैक्शनल नंबर हो सकता है या होल नंबर भी हो सकता है बिकॉज इट इज ए कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ टू। एंड जो आपका कैरेक्टर या स्ट्रिंग टाइप होता है, कैरेक्टर मतलब इंडिविजुअल वन कैरेक्टर का इंप्लीमेंट होता है, स्ट्रिंग इज नॉर्मली कॉल्ड अ कलेक्शन ऑफ कैरेक्टर एंड द boolean value is basically related with true or false because it normally consisting of 0 and as well as 1. 0 means no false, 1 means false, that is false and true or true and false का implementation हो सकता है। तो that's why constant can be any of the basic data types. So there are different data types which are normally used in programming language, जो कि हम लोग इसके बाद के वीडियो में हम लोग उसको देखेंगे। तो ओवरऑल आपका जो डेटा टाइप होता है जैसे कि आपका इंटीग्रल डेटा टाइप होता है, फ्लोटिंग पॉइंट डेटा टाइप होता है, so basically आपका built in data type होता है, user defined data type होता है। So some of the particular data type which are widely implemented in C also, that is called int, float, like char, like followed by you can say like bool and followed by your particular short, long. These are the different data types which are widely implemented with a programming language. So that's why जो आपका नॉर्मली डेटा टाइप होता है उसके रिलेटेड आपका नॉर्मली आपका कांस्टेंट होता है जैसे कि इंटीजर न्यूमरल्स एंड फ्लोटिंग पॉइंट न्यूमरल्स एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा। So the say constants are treated like just like a regular variable except that their values cannot be modified after their definition. ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज होता है, लाइक कांस्टेंट आपका नॉर्मली एक रेगुलर वेरिएबल की तरह ट्रीट होता है, बट इसमें एक चीज क्या होता है लाइक द वैल्यूज कैन नॉट बी मॉडिफाई आफ्टर देयर डेफिनेशन। वंस यू हैव टू डिफाइन, you have defined the subsequent particular constant in a subsequent variable, it may not alter or it may not modify. And some of the particular constants which are widely implemented in C, C++ programming language, like first is called the integer constant. This constant store value of a int data type, like int is called integer data type that is normally consisting of whole number. And for instance, like you can define as const, that is called the constant, and followed by int is normally called the variable, sorry, it is normally called the data type, and followed by data, that is data is normally called here in this case is variable, and equal is normally called the operator, that is called the assignment operator, followed by 5 is normally called numerical constant here. Similarly, your floating constant also there, these constant store values of float data type, like floating type of data type में आपका ये constant का implement होता है, जैसे कि एज आई से एलियर आपको पहले मैं बताया हूँ, फ्लोट आपका आपका होल नंबर एंड फ्लोटिंग नंबर या आपका जैसे कि लाइक फ्रैक्शनल नंबर का इंप्लीमेंट होता है, जैसे कि इन दिस केस फॉर इंस्टेंस यू हैव टू डिफाइन कॉन्स्ट देन फॉलोड बाय फ्लोट then followed by e is the variable here and followed by it can assign the value of 2.71, that is called the floating value or floating number. So 2.71, so in this case e or you can say data is normally called, data is called the numerical constant and e is basically in this case is called the floating point constant. Similarly, other particularly types of like constants are there, like character constant and string constant there. Character constant are basically store the value of character type. As you know that in C also, C, like your character is normally occupy 1 byte of information or 1 byte of data. So that's why this particularly character constant can store character data type or character type of value. So for instance, like you can say define const is the keyword and followed by char, then followed by answer and equal to, as you know that every individual character which is assigned to a subsequence variable that must be enclosed with a single apostrophe. That's why in this case y is normally encoded or coded with the single quote. So that's why y in this case is called the fixed, or that is normally called the value of the subsequence answer is basically called y here. So y is normally called the character constant here. And the string constant is similar to character constant, but the basic difference between character data type and string data type, character data type only like assign one particular character, but in the case of string data type, it can store more than one character with a white space also. So that's why these constants are, the string constants are also of the character data type, but before the declaration part, that is normally by the help of the array concept. So the square brackets is there, like you can say const, then followed by char. Char is the type of data, that is the data type, followed by title is normally in this case variable, and followed by the square bracket is there. Square bracket का आपका जो है ये आपका array concept होता है, and equal to आपका double quote में, because more than one character may be assigned or must be assigned inside a particular variable, that must be in a double quote. That's why data flare is the value which is assigned to the title. So in this particular data filter, there are 9 particularly characters there. So the size of the title is basically called 9, and it begins with 0 to like 8. So these are the major constants which are widely implemented with, like you can say, in constant part. So the next particularly schedule is called octal constant and hexadecimal constant. As you know that in binary arithmetic or binary particularly concepts, you know that constant, there are number systems are there, constants or octal constant and hexadecimal constant. Octal constant consists of 8 particularly digits, and hexadecimal normally consisting of 16 digits. So your octal 0 to 7, and as well as hexadecimal is equal to 0 to 9 followed by A, B, C, D, E, F. That is normally 0 to 9, that is 10 particular digits, and followed by like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The maximum is normally called the 16 base. So that's why this is basically the constant which is related with the octal constant and as well as the hexadecimal constants. So I hope so. This is the basic of your token. On the next class, we normally discuss about the other constants which is available in the C++ token list. So I hope so. You must follow through or follow the subsequent video and wait for the next video. We just learn about the other particular tokens which is available with the C or C++ programming concepts. Thank you.